Answering all your real estate investing questions in today's video. What's up YouTube, Biz Matthew here. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm actually going to read through my comment section and just answer questions that you all have about wholesaling, flipping, owning rental properties, entrepreneurship in general. So if you all have a question, please write your questions down below in the comments. Most likely I'll make a part 2 to this video answering all your questions. And so today I'm answering all the beginner questions, novice questions, maybe you're looking just to be more consistent in your deal flow, and I'm answering all these questions today. Before we go on, be sure to like this video, subscribe, comment down below, and let's head right into the comment section. All right, you all, so I'm here in my channel comments and mentions, and so let's just start off with the first one I have here that was put on my video that says what to do after wholesale contract is signed. Real estate. So Cesar says, once you have the contract signed from the seller, do you send that to the title company right away or need to have both contract from seller and buyer? So I actually get this question a lot from you all, and I answered it multiple times on my videos about title companies and contracts. So essentially what I prefer to do, especially in today's climate where everything's competitive, title companies are booked out, are super busy. I don't want to waste their time just by sending them one contract when I need the other contract for them to fulfill a transaction and actually get paid. And so I like to wait until I have both the seller's contract and the buyer's contract. Then I bring that to the title company that I've been working with, not to waste their time. Now, if there's a problem or issue, or I suspect something about a title for a property, I'm still going to send that before having a buyer's contract, right? Because I may have a hesitation about the inheritance or people being, clouded or a cloudy title or something. And if I have some sort of hesitation or thought that there may be something wrong with title, I'll send that contract. If I need to pay a fee for that, for them to do a title search, I'll do that. So I don't have to find a buyer and then end up finding out that we can't close on this property if I sense that hesitation. But if it's a normal house, if it just needs regular repairs, even if it needs extensive repairs, but the person said they lived in the house for all their life, or there's no big issue, I'll just do it. I'll just send both contracts at the same time. I hope that answers your question. All right, so just looking down at some other questions, we have one here by Heath. Okay, so this question says, so is it awkward being at closing? I figured the seller would be pretty upset you sold the home for $70K when you bought it from them at $55K a few weeks earlier. But once they signed the contract, I guess there really is no choice for them. So yeah, this is a great question. I know this is a fear that a lot of beginner wholesalers get. Okay, once we're at the title company, will this seller figure out what I'm doing and how much money I make? And the answer is, it doesn't really matter, right? And number one is, it's good to be as transparent as you can from the beginning, letting the seller know that, hey, I work with an investor, they're going to come on to this deal, other things like that. So number one, they won't be shocked when there's another person there signing papers, because they understand you're working with an investor. Or even if you say, hey, sometimes I give off these properties to other investors also, and other things like that. Even if you don't say any of that, when you're at the table, you can just introduce your investor, be like, hey, this is my partner on this deal. They're the one in charge of all the money and everything like that. Or, hey, this is my investor that I told you I work with, and other things like that. And you just sign the papers. And people, a lot of sellers don't really understand the HUD statement. And so they're just seeing the number you quoted them, and they're seeing the check that they received, and they see a bunch of different numbers. And so by them seeing $15,000 somewhere, if they're really alert and really on top of things and sold multiple houses, yes, of course they're going to understand the deal and everything. But most people don't even think about it twice, right? Because they're getting the money I told them they were going to get. On top of that, if they figured it out, hey, you signed the papers, I signed the papers, everything is good, we move on, right? And so that's what I would say. Try to be as transparent as possible. It's not as big of a deal. People know you're making money. And so that's what I would say. Let's go on to the next question. So there's a lot of questions about title and contract. So this one says, Chavez says, what's the difference between purchase and sales agreement and assignments? So the purchase and sales agreement is the contract you use between you and the seller, right? The person who owns the property that you're buying a property from, well, quote unquote, because, they're in a situation where they want to sell their house for cash. You put them under contract, and that contract is called a purchase and sales agreement. The assignment is between you and your cash buyer, the investor. And so that's the contract that you're using to use that purchase and sales sales agreement and apply it to that cash buyer, if that makes sense. So that paper is to put their name as a buyer instead of yours, if that makes sense. So that's the difference between purchase to sales agreement and assignment. But the whole transaction is called an assignment on contract. All right. People just thinking, how may I get in contact with you? Honestly, you all, sometimes I respond to comments and sometimes I respond to DMs on Instagram. It just depends. All right, here's a question about my fire damage video that I shot like 2 years ago. Where do you find fire damage cash buyers? So I think a fire damage buyer can be a unique one, but it's not as unique as you think. Most buyers, if the deal makes sense and if it's heavily discounted since it's a fire damage property, they'll still look into it. Because you can join Facebook groups, post your deal. So Facebook groups is one thing, Craigslist, and just going around talking to your circle of friends. And then another thing is, the way I found my fire damage property buyer is I JV'd with another wholesaler who was bigger in town than I was. And so they had a whole host of buyers and I was able to work with them. They had a buyer and that's how we got the deal closed. Okay, next question. Wait, so you don't wholesale mobile homes? I never personally wholesaled a mobile home, but yes, it's possible. It's the same routine. You just have to understand the land and the mobile home, like who owns the land and other things like that. They own the land that they sit on and the mobile home and they're selling both, should be fine. Hey man, how do I find the legal description? The legal description is essentially just like where the county states where this property lays, like the lot and everything, like the coordinates of where this property lays. It's like there's serial number for a property. That's what I believe it's about, but you can always find it on your county's website. So just look up your county's assessor's website. You can find the property, have the legal description. A lot of times when I was first starting out, I never included that because the title company would just do it for me. So it's nothing to worry about. So either, yes, you can find it on your county's website or ask your title company. Let's hear this next question. I was taught that if the seller is motivated, they will take an offer. What I am noticing recently is that so many people are trying to be wholesalers that it is a little more difficult for those of us who want to make a career in the wholesaling business. Sellers are being bombarded with calls and many of them, sellers, are informed about wholesalers because of the number of people trying to wholesale. Do you have any suggestions? Interesting. Thank you, Alicia Jackson. Essentially what this question is asking is, and we'll probably end off here with the video. This question is asking, back then, I guess when wholesaling first started, there wasn't a lot of marketing. People didn't get their mailbox flooded with postcards or with phone calls and other things like that. And so when a seller was actually motivated, they'll be more willing to work with the wholesaler. But now that they are bombarded with all these people and like half the people don't know what they're saying, what they're doing, they're not being educated on what to do, they just automatically say no to every wholesaler. So what's my suggestion? My suggestion is just to be the one who's 100% brutally honest with the seller. 100% brutally with the seller. Let them know, hey, trying to do blase, hey, worth this much, you should go with the right, and they would appreciate that. I'm an investor, I'm trying to make money. Be at for this project with an investor, I need to flip, do this or that. You're going to continue getting numbers, phone calls and letters and other things like that. And it's good just to be the first one, right? The first one there, maybe the first one actually meeting the person at the property, since everyone wants to do everything at home, right? Maybe you can have a competitive advantage by actually setting up an appointment and meeting the seller face to face. That's where you get a competitive advantage. My main suggestion is be brutally honest, explain to them wholesaling, explain to them what's happening, explain to them, hey, you may be better off this way or that way. Also, I would say go in person if you're not doing virtually. Meet the person in virtually. And there's other ways that you can market. There's PPC, there's Facebook ads where it's more of a passive approach where the people come to you instead of you coming to them, and those leads are usually better. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Just answering some of your questions. If you all want me to make a part 2, let me know down below. Hope you all enjoy your day. Talk to you all later.